I hear somebody, someone.
What was that?
Can you hear the music in the background? My boy is.
Nothing at all.
Okay.
Yeah. No worries. All right, we can start soon.
Okay. Yeah, we can go ahead and begin.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Aunt Myrna. Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody. I might be a not familiar face, but I'll do some introductions in a bit. But good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Global Women's Peace Network Project webinar series. This is again hosted by the Women's Federation for World Peace, the Northern California chapter. This mysterious face is Jerlyn Quilates. I am the MC for today's webinar. And I want to thank you all for being here and for joining us. Yeah, thank you for attending. And so for those who have been following the webinar series, the theme of the webinar series is Women as Leaders. And today's topic and focus area is Peace Begins with Me and My Family. Exciting stuff. So before we begin, I would just like to highlight and point out a few logistics. So during the program, please keep yourself on mute. It helps with minimizing any background noises, and just take this time now to look where your mic button would be. And if there's a red line going through it, that means you are muted. And if there isn't, that means you're unmuted. So just be aware of that, especially as there are speakers giving a presentation. You're more than welcome to unmute once we open up for some chatting time and time to share. But yes, please be aware of your mute button throughout the presentation, and you're more than welcome to interact in the chat, ask your questions there, and even use the little applause button at the end. But yes, so this is also being recorded. So if you would like to review what was shared today, or you would like to share this with someone else or any friends or family, the recording will be available, and we'll go more into the details of how to access the future recording. So yeah, let's start today's program. So this is our third webinar series event of this year. And as a Women's Federation for World Peace, we're proud to present today's program, which is being brought to you today by the Northern California chapter volunteers under the guidance and leadership of our wonderful chairwoman, Patricia Fleischman. And here's a brief overview of today's program. So please take that time to read through it. And to begin, we'll start with a presentation by one of our volunteers here, Ms. Monica Kellett, and she'll take a few moments to highlight the key focus areas at the global and national level for 2021 for Women's Federation for World Peace. So let's welcome up Ms. Monica Kellett.
Thank you very much, Geraldine. Okay, can everyone hear me? All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to this program. Yeah, I would like to give a brief overview of the Women's Federation. As you can see here, this world map, and there's different dots, is countries in which Women's Federation is very active. So this is an international organization, as you can see, with headquarters in Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, Middle East, Oceania, Russia, Ukraine, and North America. And Women's Federation for World Peace was established in 1992 by Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon. It received general consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations in 1997, which is difficult to attain. And it is the highest status granted by the United Nations. Next, please. All right. So here are 6 of the areas that Women's Federation for World Peace makes an impact, both internationally and locally. First, the humanitarian projects. For instance, we are donating meals to essential healthcare workers, making masks, collecting sanitary supplies, donate food for areas hit hard by COVID. And we support also the Schools of Africa project. It was established about 20 years ago. we presently established 9 schools in 8 countries, and over 27,000 students have benefited from the schools that are sponsored by WFWP. And the next one is healing and reconciliation. We had sponsored Bridge of Peace ceremonies in Asia between Korean and Japanese women. As you know, Korean and Japanese, they have had a lot of difficulties in history. And through this reconciliation and bridging this, going on this bridge, somehow things can be healed. Like, yeah. So also in Geneva, for instance, in Switzerland, among women representing Middle Eastern nations. So, and in the United Nations during a forum on the global perspective to end racial discrimination. Capacity building. So to improve in anything, we have to have a vision, right? And I'd like at this point to quote from our founder, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, when she said, "History is calling for reconciliation, compassion, love, service, and sacrifice. Today's problems cannot be solved by the logic of power. Our present problems can only be solved by the logic of love." Also, our national president, Angelica Sele, emphasized in her mission statement that women working together to establish a culture of heart in the family, community, nation, and world in order to achieve genuine and sustainable peace under God. Then the fourth one is the educational webinars, which is like we have today. And especially in this time of COVID, it's very wonderful that we all can get together and have these webinars. You know, we can do it in the comfort of our home, right? And anyway, so we have had certain talks on like the role of media during the pandemic, crisis in education, gender equality, just to name a few. Number 5, the United Nations. We participated in annual UN sessions, and we also sponsor parallel events during the Commission on the Status of Women. And last one, inaugurated in 2012, the Global Women's Peace Network brings together women leaders and organizations working with governments to solve pressing social issues. Through peace leadership based on the feminine aspect of human nature, GWPN seeks to ensure lasting peace and prosperity for generations to come. And the Global Women's Peace Network is a project of WFWPI, and events are held nationally, internationally, and locally. Next, please. All right, here we see this is all happening here in America. The top picture shows the North American headquarters in New York, and the bottom one our Northern California chapter. So our activities include educational programs, leadership of the heart, cornerstone for happiness, marriage and family seminar, and Bridge of Peace, our service projects, and our fundraisers to support schools of Africa, and also the national and local global Women's Peace Network programs and projects. All these activities are amazing, so exciting to go to. I always have a wonderful experience after doing these. So may I have the next slide, please? And okay, as mentioned before, the Global Women's Peace Network has 3 areas of impact. The first one is the women's leadership. It is educating women to use their unique God-given gifts and skills as peace leaders, working together with men and raising future leaders. And the family, which is super important, is the cornerstone, right? And in a way, the family is the most fundamental and natural unit in society, as we all know, learning to love and respect each other. And what is really crucial is to pass on the values for future generations. And yeah, so the last but not least, the environment. Don't you love this picture? This amazing picture, right? So the earth is our home and belongs to humanity collectively. to be treated with respect and awe, and cultivated and shared with the intention to enhance and develop it and protect it for future generations. So this is in a nutshell all about the Women's Federation for World Peace. And I'd like to pass it on again to Geraldine. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Wow, thank you, Ms. Kellett. Oh my goodness. To me as a young person, to know that there are individuals like each and every single one of you here who are a part of this amazing, foundation, this group of Women's Federation for Peace. It's really moving. I think especially during this time of COVID where, lots of things are going on and we can feel really busy, but it's really empowering to see that we have those three impacts, right? Impacting women, inspiring women, impacting our families and environment. And for me personally too, it's can feel really frustrating with a lot of uproar and things that are going on in society today. But I think, it's really great to see that we can empower ourselves, empower each other and our communities. And we have the pleasure to hear more about that today and through our speaker. But before that, I would like to introduce someone to share a lovely poem in light of the holiday International Day of Peace, which will be on September 21st. And so to inspire us and to ignite our hearts for International Day of Peace, I would like to welcome up Ms. Marie Gopper.
Thank you, Geraldine. To honor the International Day of Peace happening in a few days' time, it is my privilege to read you a poem. It's called I Dream a World by the American poet Langston Hughes. I dream a world where man no other will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its paths adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul nor avarice blights our day. A world I dream where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man is free. Where wretchedness will hang its head, and joy like a pearl attend the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream our world.
Thank you, Ms. Gopper. Let's give her some round of applause. Yeah. I think, I really love that poem because I think it really speaks to what Women's Federation for World Peace really goes for, right? Of creating a world of peace. And sometimes I feel personally, sometimes like that idea is so daunting and so big. But I love how this federation really makes it in a way of not only empowering ourselves as individual, but really seeing it as attainable. I've been personally involved, for example, with Schools of Africa, and even those small little things that we're impacting other people outside of ourselves, I think is so amazing. And so thank you for that poem, Ms. Gopper. Yeah, it's a poem by Langston Hughes. So if you want to look it up and re-inspire yourselves by reading it again, it's on there on the internet. But yes, so our highlight for today, most importantly, why we're really here. I would like to introduce our speaker, our Northern California chapter volunteers under the guidance of our chairwoman, Patricia Fleischman, has focused on the theme of women as leaders, right, in this webinar series, on the focus of 1, empowering oneself as a leader, 2, shaping the family as a leader, and 3, building community as a leader. And so that will be our focus for today's webinar, building community as a leader, with our guest speaker today. And to introduce her, I would like to read a little bio so we can get to know her a little more before she speaks. And so, yep, Miss Myrna Lepre has been a teacher and educator for over 25 years, but her passion is working with individuals, parents, and families to strengthen their connection and find better ways of relating and communicating. Myrna has been a member of Women's Federation for World Peace since its founding in 1992 as a certified family and relationship coach, educator, and presenter. And she says that I give individuals, parents, and families tools and support to discover the love and abilities that lie within. I believe that being a parent and a grandparent allows us to reparent ourselves as we grow in our ability to give and receive genuine, unconditional love. Oh, goodness, that's so powerful. Yeah, so Ms. Lepre is interested in combining her understanding and skills she's gained through study, practice, and coaching together with her work for WFWP. She's a global friend, which consists of organizations, companies, and movements that contribute to the goals of the Global Women's Peace Network by using their outlet to foster lasting peace and prosperity for generations to come. She's getting ready to launch a book on Amazon entitled 7 Gifts to Give Your Child, Parenting That Will Touch Your Future, or Touch Their Future, excuse me. And today she's here to share with us about her own journey of understanding how peace begins within ourselves and our relationships and our families. So we can each give like a round of applause to Miss Myrna Lepre.
Thank you, Geraldine. I'm happy to be here. And I just want to tell you a little bit about my journey. 6 years ago, in the summer of 2015, I moved from Northern California, where I had lived for like almost 25 years, to Northern Georgia with my husband for his work. And while we were preparing to go and packing up, I felt that this change was good. But when we arrived in Georgia, I discovered that I'm a doer, and I had left all my doer hats in California. I was a kindergarten teacher and assistant pastor, and I worked with the youth ministry team at my church, and I trained Boy Scout, worked with Boy Scouts of America training leaders, and in addition to my family. So when I arrived in Georgia, I discovered the cold, hard truth that my value came from working hard and being responsible and getting things done. And I didn't have any of those things to do in Georgia. So I cried a lot, actually, and I prayed and I meditated and I read a lot of books, among those being What Color is Your Rainbow and Who Moved, or What Color is Your Parachute and Who Moved the Cheese? And I didn't get any clear answers right away, but because we only had one car, in the beginning, which my husband took to work, I started walking in my neighborhood and I discovered a yoga studio. And I had never really done yoga before, but I joined this yoga studio because I could walk there and get exercise, and I had a community and some destination, a place to go. And I discovered a lot of things about not just physically that I became more flexible, but also in my attitude about things. I could look at things differently. One day I arrived at the yoga studio only to discover that it wasn't the regular teacher, Carla, who I really liked. And as we settled into the practice, I found myself thinking that this isn't the way Carla does this, or this instructor is moving too quickly from one position to another position. And I caught myself and I did some cleansing breaths. And then afterwards, thinking about it, I realized that part of my doing mode was my desire to control things. I had had a somewhat chaotic childhood, and it was my way of creating order out of chaos. And I realized through some painful months that I can't control and fix everything. I mean, I guess I knew that before, but I still kept trying. And that the reality is that life is messy, and that I'm sometimes messy and inconvenient, and I'm learning to be okay with that. And in my neighborhood, I also discovered there was an adult community, an activity center and they have had a community band. So I joined the band, and I rediscovered the joy of playing my flute with a group and the joy of making music together with other people. And I strongly believe that having some aspect of joy in our lives is really important, something that we have a passion for and that we love to do. While in Georgia also, my husband and I began reading the Real Love books, which are by Dr. Greg Bear, and he actually lives in Rome, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half from where I lived, and we went to a retreat at his house. And I learned many things through the studying Real Love that, you know, we do a lot of things in our life to cover up or to numb the pain that we feel. And for me, that was partly to become a doer, because emotions it had taught me that it was kind of scary and feelings were not to be trusted. And the reality is that we actually all wear masks of some kind to appear in the way that we want other people to think of us or to make ourselves look better. And so my mask, I guess, was being the responsible one, and I felt needed and important by doing that. But I also realized that I was tired of carrying too much responsibility, and what I really wanted was an authentic, honest relationship with my husband, my sons, my friends. And slowly I found other people who are also on this journey to discover their real selves. And I took a series of trainings with Hilda Wienman of Generational Healing to become a relationship and family coach. So I was doing it for others, to help others, but I was also healing myself in the process. And my husband and I became a lot closer when I stopped looking for things to find fault with or to defend myself. So learning to listen in order to understand was really important for me. To, instead of responding or arguing, and being able to empathize tremendously changed my relationship with my husband and my sons. Some of the books that I read in this process of 2015 to 2017 were by Brene Brown, and she's one of my favorite authors. And she says, change takes place when we are willing to let it happen. We need to learn to pay attention to what we have and not what we need to let go of or what we lose. I have to let go of the feeling of being sorry for myself and instead look for, oh, okay, if one door closes, what's next? We are resilient. There is beauty in survival, and we can learn to see the fruitfulness of hope. Sometimes we need to look backward in order to look forward. So I'm going to explain why that quote is important, I think, not only for me, but also for finding peace in our families and in our communities. The process of change for me began with acknowledging who I am, my flaws and my strengths, and learning to accept and love myself from that place, not to try to hide my flaws or pretend that I'm something that I am not. And being willing to let it happen is also important, as well as admitting when I'm wrong, saying I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You know, yesterday when I got really upset, I said some things that I regret. And what I really meant to say was, and then the next thing I need to look at is the baggage that I'm carrying, what I've brought from my past that I need to let go of. Like Brene Brown said, looking backward in order to look forward. So for me, as I said already, I did a lot of reading and meditating, but I also learned tools like inner child work and tapping or emotional freedom technique and other coaching tools. And then this next thing I needed to learn, that I'm still learning, is to be present to myself and others. One day when I was still living in Atlanta, I had gone someplace. I went and parked in a parking garage and took the MARTA, which is like the BART, the rapid transit. And when I came back to the parking garage, I discovered I couldn't remember where I parked my car. I'd been in such a hurry, I didn't even look at which level I was on. And so I'm walking around the parking garage with my remote, clicking my remote. And finally, after about 20 minutes, I heard a faint beep several levels below me, and I had found my car. And once I was in my car and I was on my way home, I began to think about how this was applicable to my life. How often have I not been present to my husband because I was caught up in a project I wanted to get done? Or when was the last time that I missed the cues in my son's voice as he was trying to tell me about the challenges of balancing work and family and the addition of a new baby? And how many times over the years have I missed opportunities to stop what I was doing and say, make time for whoever was there with me? And how about when was the last time that I maybe complained about my back or my neck aching because, and without realizing that I wasn't making enough time for self-care? So when we practice these things with ourselves, our families, and our friends, finding the desire to change and grow, being authentic and admitting mistakes, learning to say I'm sorry, and to listen as much as we talk or more, listen more than we talk, being present to each other, this creates a place where there's compassion, empathy, connection, and belonging. I believe in the ripple effect, like if I create pockets of goodness and love in my family, then I can impact those around me, my neighbors, my people at church that I go to church with, people that I work with, people that I meet in the grocery store. When we can care about people, then we can connect on what we have in common and what we can build on. So we're being peacemakers when we do that, when we can build a better community. But I really believe it starts on the foundation of the connection with myself and my family. It's because that's where we gain our strength. In just a minute, we're going to introduce an exercise that we're all going to do together. But I'd like to close this part with a quote from Jane Goodall. I like to envision the world as a jigsaw puzzle. If you look at the whole picture, it's overwhelming, even terrifying. But if you work on your own little piece of the jigsaw and know that people all over the world are working on their little bits, that will give you hope. Okay, so now I want to, I'm going to ask you to go with me. I'm going to share my screen, but you might want to have a piece of paper that you could make a few notes, because you're going to have an opportunity later then to go into a breakout room and to share a little bit. Okay, let me see here. Okay. So we are born with our true self as a child of God. And we also have our inherited self that comes from our parents, our extended family, our ancestors. And with that comes their unresolved issues. And what we desire most is love, forgiveness, and understanding, especially the forgiveness for the mistakes that we make. And if we receive these, we become our divine self, what we're meant to be. But often what we experience is not healthy engagement. We have experienced some level of abuse or enmeshment, abandonment, or neglect from our parents, caregivers, teachers, from other people that are in our lives. And it's from their own unresolved issues, from our culture, even from our environment that we grow up in. And this creates fear, guilt, shame. Guilt, it comes from the place that I did something wrong. But shame is even deeper, that I am wrong or I am bad. And we feel confused and wonder what's wrong with us. What did I do wrong? So if our parents and our teachers and others who care about us help us to understand and sort out our confusion, we can move back into that red circle there with love and understanding and forgiveness. But without support, and we often experience anger and hurt and pain. And from this place, we develop a false self or imitation self. From our God-given talents and gifts, we create masks. And we do this actually to survive, to manage to manage whatever we're feeling. And our false self could be anything. You can look at the labels around the circles there and see what might apply to you. As a child, none of this is our fault. The child is never guilty. And through these distortions and imbalances, we develop a persona or a mask, character armor, that we use as a defense mechanism to protect ourselves and a substitute for love. So look around the circle, and if you recognize one or more masks that connect to you, then write them down. Suppose that my God-given talent is that I'm a kind person, but I learned to bend over backwards to help other people at the expense of my own needs. Or maybe I'm a naturally funny person, but I learned to be the class clown in order to hide my pain. For me, or maybe you bury the fact that you're insecure or afraid by being a perfectionist or by pointing out faults in other people, being self-righteous, or being a show-off to deflect what's underneath. For me, I'm a naturally organized and get it done kind of person, but I learned to get my value from being responsible. So that was the mask that I wear. If nothing on this list resonates with you, think of something else that you feel that you use to, as you present to the world, to others, to hide maybe the more sensitive part of you. And the sad truth about this is that all of this can literally make people sick. We can develop disorders and illnesses. Maybe I bury myself in my work, or I use drugs or alcohol or gaming, or you know somebody who does that in order to mask your pain, or somebody who falls into a deep depression because they just can't be that who they are, and who they present to the world is too difficult. We get stuck in these roles and our life is out of balance. So again, make a note if you see any tendencies in yourself on this outer circle, to be a workaholic, or to overreact, or to be maybe obsessive compulsive is a little bit like me with my control, whatever it is, make a note of things that you recognize in your own life. So these masks become the distorted way that we learn to get affection, affirmation, and acceptance. In real love terms, Greg Bear would say that we are seeking imitation love, because we strive to get love any way that we can. We wear the masks to heal, to hide our pain and our wounding. And again, as a child, none of this is our fault. But as adults, we now have the opportunity to change, to have healthy relationships. We have to begin with ourselves by developing self-awareness and learning skills and tools to heal. So our goal today is just to begin with that awareness. As I mentioned earlier in my talk, we begin with awareness and acknowledgement of who we are, learning to be honest about our mistakes and our limitations. And by being more present to ourselves, then we can find tools to move us towards healing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. In just a minute, Geraldine will direct us into breakout rooms, but I'm gonna, oh wait, before I do that, I'm supposed to share this. So in your breakout rooms, remembering that awareness is the beginning of healing and wholeness, what do you recognize about yourself and your relationships with your family? So you're going to be in groups of 3. Just share what you're comfortable sharing. This is not a place to be confronting. Just what did you become aware of today? And again, I'm going to turn it back over to Geraldine, and I'm going to stop sharing so I can make sure that the breakout rooms are correctly configured.
Thank you, Aunt Myrna. Wow. I really appreciated your personal testimony and also your openness in the process of being aware of ourselves. And so, yeah, like she said, we will be going out to breakout rooms. And again, no pressure. This is just an opportunity, an opportunity for us just to, share what we learned about ourselves, what came up. And just to be mindful of time, we will take the next 15 minutes to be in our breakout rooms. And please be aware of time. Let every person have time to share. So each person has about 3 to 4 minutes to share about what they gained, what they learned. But yes, please be open with one another, share with one another. And if once you see the breakout rooms, just accept it. And please, once we end, don't leave the room quite yet. If you still have time to join for announcements in the end, but just go back, just enter the main room again. Yes. Otherwise, yes, I'll see you all in about 10-15 minutes. Wow, welcome back, everyone. Good to see everyone's faces again. I had a lovely conversation with Miss Khaled and Miss Bond, and I hope you all as well were able to share and inspire one another and just, help in being aware of ourselves and our lives and relationships. But we can take the next 5 minutes if anyone would like to share something they gained or share something that they were inspired about that someone else shared maybe. But yeah, we can take these next couple minutes, but please back to the awareness of time as well. Please just take the brief moment, 1 to 2 minutes to share about what you gained through the conversation or the sermon today, or the guidance today. Yeah, and you can raise your hand, you can unmute, but if anyone would like to share, the floor is open.
I'd like to comment on the fact that, this is Shirley.
Hi.
Myrna, you had such an experience moving from California to Georgia. It's like, as I was telling my group, my breakout, you had a rug taken from underneath your feet and you basically had to start all over again. And I was so impressed with that. Just walking around your neighborhood, you found yoga and another group, and you got a book coming out. And I know that you recently moved back to California. And I was really proud of that and your accomplishment. But for myself, I talked about willingness to change. And every day at 4 o'clock, I have to sometimes force myself to rest because I go from morning to night. I'm busy from morning to night. And so every afternoon I have quiet time. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that. Making that intentional time, because I feel that in our day-to-day life, we can get so busy, and if we don't create the intentional space, we can really burn out. So thank you for that sharing. All right, we can take 1 or 2 more people to share their inspirations or what they gained.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'll be brief. I was inspired with the sharing in my group, and one of the sisters shared about mindfulness, and I've studied a lot about coaching and coaching skills and ways to work with this math, but when she was sharing it, I realized that with mindfulness, when you get really present, then you can really tune into your authentic self and also be more open to guidance than your intuition. So I just wanted to thank Diane for that. That was very inspiring. So that's all for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Bond?
Yeah, I just want to say also enjoying the moment, having time with a friend really, really make a big difference in life, because a relationship between any family members is like a act of duty or responsibility. But when you sit with a friend for a cup of tea or cup of coffee, that's not act of duty. That's act of relax, open your heart and share some love, something, a joyful time. That's for me, nothing replaces that moment. And for me, it makes a huge difference in my daily life. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Ms. Bond. I will apply that this week. Meet with a friend. Yeah, again, thank you all for who shared today and for your conversations. And we can each give a whole more round of applause to Ms. LaPrey for her sharing today. And again, yeah, I want to thank each and every single one of you for being here. And before we close, I just would like to say briefly, take this guidance into action. Take a time in your day, like Ms. Shirley said, to reflect or to relax, have a nice sip of tea for yourself, and listen to some music or whatever will fill in your heart and your spirit. And again, when it comes to being awareness of yourself and maybe some heavy things, like approach it with a loving heart. And so to close our webinar today, I would like to bring everyone's attention to the upcoming events that are happening these next couple of months. In September 25th, so a week from now, we will have a Zoom Peacecraft. Woohoo, that sounds exciting. It's an opportunity for us to connect and create together. There is a meeting ID. Write it down now, or there will be a follow-up email with all of these announcements available too. And next up, we'll have the Benefit for the Schools of Africa project. So please watch out for that. That will be coming out in November. So yes, next week will be the Peacecraft, and watch out for November for the Benefit for the Schools of Africa. Yeah, so save those dates. All right, and we will have our self-care series beginning in October, so around October 16th. And yep, there's the flyer there on the right-hand side if you'd like to take a minute to read it. But that is it for today. I really want to thank you all for attending. Thank you for the conversations. To continue learning more about what WFWPU has to offer, there's the international website, WFWP.org, the North American website, WFWP.us, and to follow up what's going on here locally, here in Northern California, there's the Facebook page of WFWP NorCal. And so, yeah, follow that Facebook page for announcements happening throughout the months following. And again, a follow-up email will be sent out after today with the recording and links and posters for the upcoming events. Anyways, I want to thank you all again for today. Thank you for all of the presenters, and I hope you all have a beautiful day and week until we all meet again. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.